Hi, thanks for hanging out. In this video, I'll show you how I go about building this garden shed. Let's get after it. I had to transplant this little pear tree to make room. When I dug it out, I didn't get much of a root ball with it. The ground was really loose around it. After transplanting it and giving it a water though, it's thriving really well. I started scraping away all the loose material over the natural ground and dug as much as I could in the back right hand corner until I hit a quite large root from the pine tree next door. That was as far down as I was going to be able to go. The rest would need to be fill. Here I'm using a compactable fill material called quarry rubble, sometimes called road base. It's got a mix of small to medium aggregate as well as fines. It compacts down really well, and when the material gets wet it forms a quite hard crust on the surface. Given that this doesn't need to hold water, that was a good choice for the fill material for this project. After about every 150 millimeters or 6 inches or so, I'd use a vibrating compacting plate to get the material I put in nice and firm, and then moved on to the next layer. Here I'm checking levels across the pad. I know I'm getting close before I put the sand and pavers down. There's a little bit more work to do to get it right across the entire pad, and then we'll be ready for the next stage. I'm adding the last of the fill now. It was a little bit low at the front still. It's pretty amazing to me how much fill it does take to get something like this level compared to what it looked like before I started. It's great to be able to work with a good solid base though. I'm bringing in the paving sand now and putting down a layer that's about 50 millimeters thick or about 2 inches thick, which I'll screed to get perfectly flat and level before laying the pavers. I'm using a nice straight board with a spirit level clamped to it to do the screeding. On the right I've got a baseline that I'll work from, and I'm working back to front at the moment to do a rough screed and see if there are any low spots that I need to put some more sand into. After the rough screed there were some low spots on the left hand side which I'll top up with sand, and then start the full screed from the right hand side to get this nice and flat across the whole surface. I'm adding a light dusting of sand to the surface. It's fairly firm as it is, and that will give something for the pavers to settle into as they get laid. The slabs I'm using are solid concrete, 600mm square, 40mm thick, and they weigh about 32 kilograms each. That's roughly 24 inches by 1.5 inches and about 70 pounds. They'll make a great solid floor for the garden shed and have plenty of weight to stop the garden shed becoming a projectile if there's heavy winds. The base is 2.4 metres square or 8 feet square, and the last step is to settle those pavers with a soft mallet. The shed of choice is a kit that comes from the company that I work for. It's 2.1 metres square and 2 metres tall, or around about 7 feet square and about 6'8" tall. The colour is the same as the workshop and the fence out the back. It'll blend in nicely. The kit has you assemble the 4 walls first, which then get assembled together to make the main body of the shed. Everything came pre-cut, pre-drilled and ready to assemble straight out of the box. It was a really easy process. I did have to be a little bit careful with the screws on the top and bottom rails going into the steel walls. It was fairly easy to be able to over drill those, over tighten those and strip the threads out if you weren't careful. Altogether, the kit was really well laid out, the instructions were clear, and the walls went together without too much fuss. That last wall was the wall with the door, and I'm now assembling the door itself. Like everything else in this kit, it went together really easily for a beautiful, neat finish. Once I flip it over to do the back side, I'll check square. I need a little bit of assistance to get it perfect and then finish screwing it all together. I would definitely recommend getting an extra pair of hands to help put the 4 walls together to make the body. Even with that extra pair of hands, it was still a little bit tricky. Our Labrador was a great supervisor, but not much help. Once we got the 4 walls up and started to get those screwed together with the brackets that go in each corner, the body started to become really nice and stiff and solid. The main body's now done. It's time to start the roof and other bits and pieces. On goes the track for the sliding door, and at the bottom there's a nice angled threshold, making it easy to get wheelbarrows and lawnmowers in and out of the garden shed. In each corner and down the sides, I'm installing expanding anchors or Dynabolts and holding the shed down to those weighty concrete slabs we used for the base. In goes the main ridge beam that the roof sheets will attach to from both sides. There is a flashing which goes across the top of that ridge beam and covers the join in the roof sheets. The roof sheets get the ends of the flutes turned up to help prevent water getting blown up and in under the flashing and into the garden shed. If it does, the ridge beam is designed with a channel that can get water out to the edge of the garden shed. After the ridge flashing is installed, I can put the door on for the first time. I've got a couple of adjustments to make, and then it's starting to look a lot like a garden shed. There are 2 pairs of angled flashings that go on the front and the rear of the garden shed. The front pair also help cover up the track that the sliding door rolls on. The last step is to rivet together the sheets in the centre where they overlap. My handy helper from before wanted to do that while I finished bolting down the inside. And that's this all wrapped up. I'm really happy with how that all came together. I think it looks really good. It's nice and square and solid. It's held down well to those pavers. It's tucked up nice and neat into the corner of the fence here, so I feel like it's going to be quite well protected from the elements. It's a good looking shed. It's going to do exactly what we need it to do. It's going to be primarily for wood storage, but also for things like the lawnmower and the whippersnipper, the line trimmer, and things like that. I'm going to be working with a bit of a slope after the rest of the landscaping is done, so I went with the sliding door option. I think that's going to be easier to use when we go in and out of the shed, and there's a little bit of wind here as well, and the hinge door I think would perhaps end up banging and might get damaged, so the sliding door was the best option. That's it for this one. I'm pleased with how this project has turned out. I hope you enjoyed the video and thank you for watching. If you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to leave those below. And remember, until next time, life's short, so get after it.